Living the Science of Mind, page 28. What is religion? Religion means our attitude toward God. This attitude is based on our concept of the relationship which exists between God, the universal spirit, and humanity, the individual spirit. If we believe that God is some far-off divine being from whom we are isolated, we shall give up in despair, or our entire endeavor will be in seeking a reconciliation and reunion with this divine being. We are compelled to think of the Spirit as either apart from us or within us. And if God is apart from us rather than being a part of us, our search will be to reunite ourselves with this divine source of our being. Moreover, in our search, we shall be laboring under the difficulty imposed by not knowing where to go or how to get there. But if we can conceive of the divine being as already existing within us, no search is necessary. Instead of a search, there is an unfoldment. Again, if we conceive of the divine being as separated from us, any communication must be across the void which separates us. From this viewpoint, prayers, petitions, or attempts at communication with the infinite must bridge some gap, cross some chasm, travel in some unknown direction with no certainty that they will reach their goal. Communion with the infinite is possible only on the supposition that the infinite is omnipresent, and, if omnipresent, at the center of our own being. All religions are attempts to interpret humanity's relationship with this indwelling and overarching infinite, with a spirit which fills all nature, all time, and all space with its presence. The purer the religion, the more completely has it approached an attitude of unity, a complete oneness between God and humanity. Jesus boldly declared, "He that has seen me has seen the Father." The purer the form of the religion, the more perfectly has it presented the idea of an indwelling presence which directly responds to one's thoughts. The recognition that the Spirit thinks through our thought and expresses itself through our act must necessarily create an intimacy which makes divine communion more real and more beneficial than would any concept based on the thought of God as separate from our lives. A true religious concept is an indispensable aid in spiritual mind healing. The mental practitioner has a better chance of success when they believe in the indwelling spirit, when they believe that God's work is already accomplished and perfect, even though it is eternally unfolding. Moreover, their words will have more power when they believe that they are power, and they endow them with a power in such degree as they sense the divine presence back of them. This inner testimony of the soul is real and valid. Who could deny the artist the privilege of appreciating beauty? We all know that as a result of their sense of beauty, they create the beautiful, which is the object of art. We know that some artistic productions surpass others, and we recognize that back of them is a deep impression, a subjective feeling. We have not weighed or measured the reality which the artist contemplates, and yet we have evidence of it in their work. The mental science practitioner whose mind is filled with spiritual awareness will speak a more powerful word than the one who rests their claims solely on the law of cause and effect. The practitioner whose thought reaches the highest spiritual level will demonstrate that their word has the greatest power. The fact that the law of mind knows only how to obey and has no purpose of its own to execute demonstrates the proposition that a higher altitude of thought will find a corresponding higher level of manifestation, just as water will reach its own level by its own weight. It is in this sense that a true religious perspective is necessary to effective mental practice. The law, being a doer and not a knower, never acts of itself. It merely reacts. The word of spirit is the enforcement of this law. How can we expect a result to rise higher than its cause? It is self-evident evidence that there is a coordinating spirit, and this coordinating spirit must have within itself a prototype or a perfect idea of every form. A deep underlying sense of the spiritual universe is necessary to the most effective form of mind healing. To the technical work of the mental practitioner, there should be added this deep spiritual sense of things. A subtle emanation of spirit should flow through all the statements which they make, for every statement must be based on the proposition of one God, one humanity, and one universe. A spiritual system which is complete, divinely organized, spiritual not only in its origin, but also in its manifestation. The spiritual mind healer must learn to see God in their patient. Their conviction of this indwelling divinity must be more than intellectual, for there is a field of reality higher than the intellect, and it uses the intellect as its instrument. We should not decry the intellect, since it gives shape and form to this inner feeling. But without the feeling, nothing comes into being. This has been referred to as the spirit and the letter of the law. And we have been told that the letter without the spirit does not quicken. Applied to mental healing, this means that the words we speak must have deep meaning to us, and we must sense that behind them there is a power-seeking expression. This power is infinitely greater than our intellect. The intellect does the best it can, but unless it is directed by the Spirit, it finally succeeds in reaching only a gigantic negation, a complete denial of its own existence, a repudiation of the supreme fact of existence, which is the act of directly experiencing Spirit. You could not convince one who has had such an experience that it was an illusion or a hallucination, for this inner testimony of the soul is valid to the one who has it. It is just as much a part of them as is their thoughts, and the proof of its reality is evidenced by the results which it has produced in the lives of those who have been most deeply sensitive to love, truth, and beauty. To come into closer daily contact with the supreme source of wisdom and illumination should be the earnest desire of every worker in this field. Appreciation of human experience will be quickened rather than slowed through the unity with this indwelling spirit. When a person learns to see God in everyone, they will become more spontaneous. They will feel a deep and abiding inner joy. Our spiritual experiences reach higher levels at some times than at others, and we should seek to bring the inspiration of these moments of illumination into our everyday living. If the philosophy of Christianity were lived, wars would cease, unhappiness would cease, economic problems would be solved, poverty would be wiped from the face of the earth, and humanity's inhumanity to others would be transmuted into a spirit of mutual helpfulness. This would not mean the reducing of all persons to one common level. We are individuals in a cosmic wholeness. Each is a unique representation of the one and only mind and spirit. And since this mind and spirit is infinite, its capacity to individualize must likewise be without limit. Each may remain themselves while seeing God in the other. The spiritual mind practitioner should always have a sense of this fundamental unity and should realize that it is continuously differentiating itself through each one of us. Every person becomes a unique manifestation of the whole, a microcosm within the macrocosm. Rooted in the infinite, they personify it. Some part of it, inseparable from it, remaining in it, they are still an individual. The paradox of the many and the one is explained not on the basis of a God apart from humanity, but on the basis of a God incarnated in each person. The religion of the spiritual mind healer must be one of unity and law. They must feel that they are one with the spirit. Being one with the self-existent spirit, they must sense that they use the law. There is nothing arrogant about this, for they know that should such use be exercised in behalf of duality, they themselves must experience the effect of that very dualism which they attempt to project. The universe is foolproof, and the profane do not enter the Holy of Holies. Humility, reverence, and adoration are not to be confused with self-obliteration. We are not called upon to consider ourselves unholy. We are neither conceived in sin nor shapen in inequity. Humanity's place in the creative order is as a dispenser of the divine gifts, a husbandman of the indwelling Lord. The morbidity which has come from the sense of isolation and separation from God must be healed if joy and laughter are to take the place of sorrow and tears. How can we believe in a weeping universe or a sad God or a melancholy first cause? Such concepts would contradict the fundamental necessity of reality, that God is a synonym for wholeness. Negation does not belong to the infinite, and being undivided, it is never separated from its own good. We must arrive at an abiding sense of our unity with good. Much that we have believed must be discarded, for we can never avoid the conclusion that with what judgment we have judged, by that same judgment we must ourselves be judged. The approach to reality should be simple, direct, and spontaneous. The secret place of the Most High is neither in the holy mountain of Samaria nor at Jerusalem, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. This kingdom is finished, complete, and perfect for eternity. But the manifestation of this kingdom is the eternal activity of right laws, right idea, order, truth, and beauty. Humanity is given dominion in this kingdom by a fundamental necessity of our nature. It is impossible that this dominion should be withheld from us. There is no deific power which either withdraws from humanity or advances towards humanity. No more of God is in one place than in another, and in the place where humanity is, God is. And where we recognize the divine presence, there the divine presence responds. Not some of it, but all of it. The communion of the soul with this over-presence is a natural act. To feel that a presence greater than we are is guiding us is normal. To trust this presence is sanity. To desire that the divine eternal shall project itself through our thought is to be receptive to that greater side of our nature which lies open to the upper reaches of thought. This is religion.